The best and only NBA preview you need to get ready for the coming season. All 30 NBA teams broken down into a 4-part series exploring the same theme: vision. Does your franchise have it? If so, what is it? If not, why not? What are realistic expectations for all 30 NBA franchises heading into the coming 2025-26 NBA season? And which teams have legitimate visions of an NBA title? Our last series explored where it all went wrong for the 29 teams that failed to win the NBA title. In this 4-part series, we talk about getting it right. What does that mean for all 30 NBA franchises heading into this new season? Which teams got which players? What do starting lineups look like? Who has new coaches? Which coaches are firmly on the hot seat? We break it all down for you for all 30 teams. Season 3's 4-part series, Getting It Right, starting with part 1. What is the vision for 8 teams? All that you need to know with season tip-off just under a month away. We begin with the most visionless franchise in the NBA. Who am I talking about? The Chicago Bulls. Last season, 39-43, they finished 10th in the East. In the offseason, they add Isaac Okoro from the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they lose Lonzo Ball. Personnel-wise, here's what the starters look like for the Bulls: Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Isaac Okoro, Matas Buzelis, and Nikola Vucevic. Their key contributors: Patrick Williams, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, Ayo Dosunmu, and Trey Jones. Led by their head coach, Billy Donovan, in his 6th season. 1 playoff appearance across the previous 5. That happened in 2022. He is the 3rd longest tenured head coach in the NBA. Congrats on entering the Hall of Fame. The Bulls last season, they win 15 of their last 20 games. They were the hottest team in the league at the end of the regular season. They still ended up in a play-in game and a loss to the dwindling Heat. Story of their offseason, it was the long-term commitment to Josh Giddey. Would it happen? Would it not? They waffled most until signing him. Finally, they settled on a 4-year, $100 million deal, $25 million per. Pretty reasonable for a player entering his 4th year, 22 years old, in the production that we've seen from Giddey. Would you rather have Josh Giddey or Anthony Simons, both making $25 million this coming year? For me, give me Giddey. Real value, though, for the Bulls right now, it's in his backcourt mate, Kobe White, who's making $12 million, playing in a contract year, in line for a big payday, just 25 years old, rightfully so, coming off career highs in points per game, 20.4, field goal percentage, and free throw percentage. He also got to the line a ton, averaged 4.1 per game. This team legitimately 10 deep. They have young talent. They shined in moments. But what is the vision for Chicago? That's why they fall in this category. Are Giddey and White the backcourt duo to return them to their glory days of years many, many past? Getting it right for the Bulls would look like legitimate Eastern Conference playoff team. That is 1 through 6. No play-in, Bulls. It's the 6th year under head coach Billy Donovan. He's a basketball Hall of Famer. Not for what he's done with the Bulls, that 1 playoff appearance in 5 years. With the void that is the Eastern Conference, teams working through injuries, Bulls' realistic expectations should be being in the East top 6. Does that happen? Well, I don't think so. The Bulls have shown no inclination to be any sort of factor under Billy Donovan in this era in the playoffs, and I think that continues. They are now firmly out of the Zach LaVine era. First time beginning a season without him on their roster since 2017, 2018, and now the future lie in the hands of the youngsters, Josh Giddey, Kobe White. Let's see what you got in Chicago. Speaking of Zach LaVine, let's talk about the equally vision-lacking Sacramento Kings. They have become the Chicago Bulls of the Western Conference. What a season and what a roller coaster it was last year for the Kings. They fire head coach Mike Brown, the coach that had taken this franchise to the playoffs for the first time in nearly 20 years. Gone. They trade their young, budding franchise superstar, De'Aaron Fox. They finished 40-42, still good enough to make the play-in in the West. They lose to Dallas. In the offseason, they add Dennis Schroeder to come in, run the point. They needed help at that position last year. Schroeder coming off a great summer, playing Eurobasket, winning the title with his home country, Germany. They lose Jake LaRavia. All right, personnel-wise, what do the starters look like? Schroeder at the point, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, more about him in a little bit, and Domas Sabonis, their key contributors. Malik Monk, will he be in a Kings jersey come start of the season? Name being floated. The Kings really hot and heavy. They want Jonathan Kuminga. Can they lure him across the bay? And finally, Keon Ellis. Head coach Doug Christie, his first full season at the helm, took over as the interim, went 27-24. But explain to me the vision in Sacktown. Zach LaVine, what's the read? What's your read? I've always been a Zach LaVine fan. And outside of just the athleticism, I think he's a very good player, very good scorer. Maybe not your top guy, but as your second or third, I think that can be a pretty good team. Domas Sabonis, I think he is one of the most criminally disrespected players in the league, but clearly to this point not good enough to be your lead dog. But those two players, they are your highest paid respectively, making $47 and $42 million. That's a lot of money to not know if either one is your lead dog. For Sacramento, if they don't believe in Sabonis, move him. Also, what's the vision in firing Mike Brown to give Doug Christie the full-time job? That's no shade at Doug Christie. It's just saying, you guys had Mike Brown. Why? Getting it right for these Kings. Keegan Murray, the aforementioned, it is now put up or shut up time for a tantalizing player if he wants to earn that rookie contract extension. He had regression his third season in the league. But can he be blamed fully with the dysfunction that was going on around him? In this apron era, salary dumps don't really happen anymore. So you're kind of stuck with what they've got. Getting it right for the Kings would probably be losing as many games as possible and trying to secure a high pick in the coming draft, kicking the can down the road. I don't think that's what they'll do. They will linger around, play in territory, and the Kings will be there once again. And when it comes to tanking for high draft picks, I cannot wait to see Cooper Flagg suit up for the Utah Jazz. Wait, hold up. He's not playing for the Utah Jazz, who went 17-65, the worst record in the NBA last season, worse than the Washington Wizards, all with the hope that the lottery balls would fall their way so they could draft Cooper Flagg. Well, that was not the case. So in the offseason, they add Kyle Anderson, Yusuf Nurkic, and Kevin Love. Yes, Kevin Love. They are not expected to buy him out, so look forward to 10 years from now when you have the remember when Kevin Love played that half a season for the Utah Jazz conversation? They blow the rest of the thing up. Gone are the known names: John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Johnny Juzang. So personnel-wise, here's what the starters look like. Isaiah Collier, Ace Bailey, more on him later, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, Walker Kessler. Key contributors: Yusuf Nurkic, Kyle Filipowski, the Summer League MVP, averaging an absurd 29.3 points per game, Georges Niang, and Bryce Sensabaugh. Keontae George as well. Their head coach, Will Hardy, well-regarded, fourth season in the league. They haven't sniffed the playoffs in his tenure. You cannot tell me that hearts did not break in Jazz country when the lottery balls did not go their way. The difference in franchise trajectory between Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr. Look, no such thing as a sure thing when it comes to lottery picks, so it remains to be seen. But the franchise was clearly putting all of their effort towards capturing the flag. So much so that they put handcuffs all season on their best player. Free the guy, Lauri Markkanen, one-time All-Star, coming off a blazing showcase across Eurobasket. Finland, their surprising run to the semifinals. They knocked off the tournament favorite, Serbia. Markkanen was on a heater across the course of Eurobasket. He signed through the 28-29 season, making an average value contract of $48 million. He's the 18th highest paid player in the league. The question is he a franchise player? And is he a franchise player for the Jazz? If they believe so, give the man the apron and let him cook. If not, free the guy. Getting it right for the Utah Jazz would be moving Markkanen for as much as possible and finishing as low as possible. Let the young guys develop, the losses accumulate, and continue to play for the future. A franchise that has clearly already adapted that mentality, the Brooklyn Nets. Where Brooklyn at? Usually at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. The future in Brooklyn, well, it's in the future. They have not a single player over 30 years old. 5 first-round picks from last year's draft. Are any of them a franchise guy? They will want to see. Last season, they go 25-56. They finished 12th in the East. In the offseason, they add those 5 picks, 4 of their own, 1 via trade. They also add Michael Porter Jr. at the cost of Cameron Johnson. Starters, they look like this. Igor Demin, the overall 8th pick from BYU. Cam Thomas, who will be playing on that qualifying offer, did not get the big contract. Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Nick Claxton, their key contributors. Terrence Mann, head coach Jordi Fernandez, coming off that inaugural season of 26 wins. Well, the Brooklyn Nets last year, they had 44 starting lineups. This is a team that with Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas at times looked capable, at least in the Eastern Conference. But they were willing to take their time when injuries came to Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson, their 2 feature players. Johnson is now gone. It netted them the podcast MVP of the summer. I don't agree with all the takes, but hey, Mans was out there putting up shots. Michael Porter Jr., the mercurial yet tantalizing and still just 27-year-old small forward at 6'10", silky shooting from Denver. The Nets in the offseason, unwilling to commit to Cam Thomas long-term. He has chose to play in a true contract year. Qualifying offer just under $6 million. It gives him unrestricted free agent status, can test the market so he can prove it if the Nets will let him. Does Brooklyn look to move him early at the risk of losing him for nothing? Is there a team that wants to give him the money that he feels deserving of? What would getting it right look like for the Brooklyn Nets? That would be letting the rooks cook. And that means lots of losses. They won't be serving wins in Brooklyn. The franchise digging themselves out of the failed KD, Kyrie, Harden era, and they got a long way to go. They have not been to a conference finals since 2003. They have just 1 first-round pick in the coming draft, but years down the road, potentially 4 in 2027, 3 in 28, 3 in 29. So check back on the Nets as a competitive franchise come about 2030. Another team that went heavy in the first round, and surprisingly so, the New Orleans Pelicans. Lean and mean. We've all seen the pictures from Media Day. You saw it on the thumbnail. Zion Williamson. Is he ready to feast on the West? Well, we shall see. Last season, this team went 21-61, 14th in the West. Only worst team was the Jazz, and it was injuries that derailed their season. Brandon Ingram sent to Toronto. CJ McCollum, he's sent to Washington. Bruce Brown, he's gone as well. They add in Jordan Poole. Personnel-wise, here's what the starters look like for opening night. Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Yves Missi. Key contributors, Kevon Looney comes over. Jeremiah Fears, their draft pick. Jordan Hawkins, Derek Queen, another one of those first-round swings. Jose Alvarado and DeJounte Murray, if he can come back from that torn Achilles injury. For head coach Willie Green, surprisingly entering his 5th season with the Pelicans. He has survived. Reason being, 2 playoff appearances in spite of 2 first-round exits, and that's because this franchise had been steadily progressing, building on their win total in the regular season each year under Green. They went 49-33 2 years ago. They lose in the first round to OKC. They make a big swing in the offseason to get a point guard. They trade away Dyson Daniels, a very talented prospect, for DeJounte Murray. It was kind of an apples to apples at the time, but so far that one has looked like a major win for Atlanta. Couldn't have foreseen the injury that would happen to Murray. He misses 51 games. Zion misses 52. Murphy misses 29. CJ McCollum misses 26. Brandon Ingram riding pine for most of the year. He gets dealt to Toronto and gets paid there. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk are both sent packing to bring back Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney comes over as a free agent, both former Warriors. Big offseason splash, though, was the 2 first-round picks. Jeremiah Fears, the guard out of Oklahoma, and then the big swing, trading away their 2026 first-round pick for the draft rights to Maryland big man Derek Queen. This was an eye-opener or a potential head-scratcher for a lot of pundits for the recently hired in April general manager Joe Dumars. And look, I am not here to argue with Joe Dumars' track record as a GM in Detroit. 6 Eastern Conference Finals appearance, 2 conference championships, and the 2004 title. Man knows what he's doing. We shall see. What will getting it right look like for the Pelicans? On paper, this team is so intriguing. Trey Murphy III made a major leap last season, going from 14 points per game to 21 on 45, 36, 88 shooting splits. But the ultimate success, no secret, falls on the shoulders of former number 1 pick and their highest paid player, Zion Williamson. It is a make or break year for the 25-year-old. Just 129 games played out of a potential 328 across the last 4 seasons. That's 39% of the games. Now, mind you, he did sit out a full season. But the Pelicans, they have alternated between making and missing the playoffs from year to year across the tenure of Willie Green. And to get it right this season, they need to finish 5 through 8 in the West. The roster is likable. It's talented. If the health situation goes their way, that's a big if when you talk about Zion especially, the Pelicans should find themselves in the playoff picture in the West. Let's go from a very likable Pelicans roster to one that is not, and a franchise headed in the wrong direction, the Phoenix Suns. Wins and losses don't matter. Success is how the season will be measured. We will get to that. Last season, well, it was not a success. It was a failure. 36-46, 11th in the Western Conference. Just couldn't quite put it together. Kevin Durant, gone. Bradley Beal, gone. Tyus Jones, gone. Mason Plumlee was a contributor, gone. Additions, well, they get Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green in that Kevin Durant deal. Also, Mark Williams to man the center position, but also their 4th head coach in as many seasons. Personnel-wise, here's what the starters look like. Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn, and the aforementioned Mark Williams. Key contributors, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, and Kaman Malic, their first-round pick. You see something missing there? Yeah, we will talk about it. Head coach is Jordan Ott. He will be in his first year. He was an assistant in Cleveland. He has Michigan State ties to owner Matt Ishbia. Once again, the Suns hard charge into a season without a true point guard. A new head coach and no sort of plan, seemingly, to capitalize on their franchise players' prime. Go back to that Game 7 Western Conference semis loss, throttling at the hands of Luka Doncic in the Mavs jersey as the franchise turning point for the Suns. Monty Williams is out after that. Frank Vogel, one and done. Mike Budenholzer, one and done. 3 seasons with Kevin Durant, the high point probably being when they were tied 2-2 in the playoffs against Denver in the West semis in 2023. But it's safe to say that the owner Matt Ishbia's era hasn't yielded a ton of success. That was his quote at the top. It brings me to Devin Booker. He turns 29 at the beginning of the season, his 11th year in the league. 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, the front half of his athletic prime, and he is destined, it seems, to waste away in the desert as the Suns attempt to find some sort of direction. Booker added 2 years to his deal via a max vet extension this offseason. He said he wants to finish out, play all his days in Phoenix. Had that taste of success at 24 years old going to the finals, but with 30 looming, does he really want to play out his days as Phoenix tries to crawl out of their cap hell? Matt Ishbia getting it right. Here was the quote. Hope we win more games than we won last year. Expectations won't be measured in wins and losses, but it is going to be measured in success. What will be the measure for success for this oddly assembled roster? The 8th highest cap allocation in the league. To me, success would look like moving every possible piece to build for the future. Jalen Green playing good enough to generate some trade value. Dylan Brooks probably will be the first player to be moved out of this Suns group, and trading Devin Booker for all that you could possibly get, getting out of cap jail and building for a new era, sadly enough. Such is the reality that has been created by the Phoenix Suns. The final two teams in this part one of Getting It Right, What is the Vision? You may be surprised to find lumped in with the other six. And it is not in a negative sense, as these are two organizations that have been beacons of stability in the NBA, but they are entering new eras for different reasons. First off, the Miami Heat. What does this new era of Miami Heat basketball look like? Last season, they go 37-45, their worst record since 2018, tied for the least amount of wins under Eric Spoelstra. Miami still manages to get the 8 seed as the first 10 seed in the play-in with back-to-back wins on the road. They beat Chicago and Atlanta, yet they fall in a sweep at the hands of the Cavs in the first round. So how do they retool? In the offseason, they add Norman Powell from the Clippers, Simone Fontecchio from the Pistons. They lose Duncan Robinson, Haywood Highsmith, and Kevin Love. Personnel-wise, here's what the Heat starters look like. The big news, Tyler Hero. A left foot surgery required, sidelining him to begin the season. The Heat's best player and focal point of the post-Jimmy Butler era. Well, he will start the season on the sidelines. So Davion Mitchell will get the reins and play the point guard position. Norman Powell will be in there. Andrew Wiggins, forgotten man, Andrew Wiggins. Bam Adebayo, somewhat of a slump of a season, bouncing back. And Khalil Ware at the center position. A lot of people excited about him. Key contributors, Nikola Jovic, the Serb, not Nikola Jokic, Jovic. A lot of excitement around him, as is Jaime Jaquez. These are two pieces that Miami was reluctant to trade away. Precious Achiuwa on the roster, and Terry Rozier potentially as well. Head coach Eric Spoelstra is in his 18th season, the longest tenured head coach in the NBA. He has been helming the Heat since 2008. They have only missed the playoffs 3 times in those 18 years. For my money, the best head coach in the NBA. The Heat find themselves in this category, like I said, not like some of these other compass, direction, vision-less franchises, but merely as an honest, what does the vision of the Miami Heat moving forward look like? Pat Riley, 80 years old. He made his NBA debut playing in 1967. He has been the head honcho of the Heat since 2008. What does this next act look like for Riley? Hero, Powell, Wiggins, Adebayo, and Ware is an intriguing starting 5, plus the depth pieces coupled with the best active head coach in the league, in my opinion. I would not doubt Miami getting it right in a weakened East due to injuries. The Heat will hopefully have Hero for a majority of the season. And this group did not punt last year when they easily could have after the whole Butler soap opera played out. A 7th consecutive playoff appearance for Miami would be getting it right. And with Spoelstra and Riley, they aren't content to just make the playoffs. So keep your eyes on this Miami Heat franchise and what they do across the course of the season. And finally, a franchise just 2 years removed from earning their 18th, the most in NBA history, championship, the gold standard across the history of the NBA, the Boston Celtics. But my, how so much has changed since they hoisted that title 2 years ago over the Mavs. New ownership means a new direction. And that bears the question, what is the vision and what is the direction in this new era of Celtics basketball? Last season, they're all set to defend their title, looking to repeat 61-21, second in the East, primed for another run through the Eastern Conference, looking to make it 4 consecutive conference finals appearances. Then Game 1 and Game 2 against the Knicks happened. 20-point lead, blown. They lose in overtime. 20-point lead, blown, a 1-point loss. They go down 0-2 in the series after being outscored by 13 points in the fourth quarter. They win game 3 and then a franchise-altering game 4. Jason Tatum goes down, sitting on 42 points. The Knicks go up 3-1. Celtics resiliency wins out in game 5, but their season ends in 6. The 7th consecutive year that the NBA fails to see a champ repeat in trying to defend their title. But for the Celtics, it is so much more than that, because in the offseason, they have a bevy of changes. New ownership. Drew Holiday traded. Kristaps Porzingis traded. Al Horford allowed to walk. And Jason Tatum potentially lost for a year of his prime. More on that later. Additions. In is Anthony Simons from the Trailblazers. Chris Boucher from the Toronto Raptors and Luka Garza from the Wolves. Personnel-wise, here's what the Celtics starting 5 will look like. Aforementioned Simons at the point guard position. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Chris Boucher, and Neemias Queta coming off a good Eurobasket for Portugal as well. Figuring key contributors, you keep 6th man of the year. Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench. Do you start Pritchard and keep Simons on the bench? Remains to be seen. Sam Hauser, Baylor Shireman rounding out key contributors for Joe Mazzulla in his 4th year. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a franchise that had a more foundational rocking season than the one that the Celtics just lived through. Their franchise player, Tatum, going down with a potentially career-altering injury. A roster that had already blown past the second apron, kept together with the hopes of pursuing back-to-back titles. An ownership situation after the initial sale was reported that had some initial questions as to the handoff structure that has since been resolved. It firmly places the NBA's most successful franchise in the hands of Bill Chisholm. We saw him at the lectern for Media Days today. $6.1 billion was the price he paid. The highest at the time, only to be bested by the LA Lakers. Fitting, those two always in competition. But Chisholm quoted as saying, "Coming in second is not the objective, and it is not acceptable. The ultimate yardstick is winning championships." A little different than the tenor of Matt Ishbia. Getting it right for the Boston Celtics. Well, Chisholm speaks like an owner that is committed to the cause, but the initial moves and the edict to Brad Stevens in charge of running the whole thing, it was to clean up the books. Hence the departures of the aging Drew Holiday and the injury-riddled Kristaps Porzingis. So now we have to wait and see. What are the Celtics as a Jaylen Brown-led team? The Celtics will win some games in the East. They will continue to shoot threes, and they will live with the result. But do they want to win games? Middle-class purgatory is the worst place to be in the NBA. And for a franchise that has made the playoffs 11 consecutive years, 6 conference finals appearances within that run, is it worth it to have a wash of a season? Maybe one of the biggest question marks heading into this NBA season. That is part 1 of the Z's and Threes NBA season preview series. 8 teams, what's the vision, and what are the realistic expectations and aspirations for getting it right in this coming season? 3 more parts to go, 22 more teams to come. In part 2, 8 more franchises, these ones with flawed visions. Episodes of Getting It Right will be dropping every Friday as we lead up to the October 21st season tip. Preseason games start next Thursday in Abu Dhabi. The Sixers and the Celtics playing 2. The New Orleans Pelicans will be down under, the first time in NBA history that a team goes down there to play. They will be against 2 NBL, National Basketball League. That's the highest pro league in Australia. Those games coming next week. It's almost time. Also, be on the lookout next week. We will debut a new show, The Daily Dribble. Under 3 minutes, everything that you need to know from the night and day prior in the NBA all season long. If you like this series, if you like the channel, if you like the show, please do like, subscribe, share with a friend as we gear up for tip-off of the NBA season. We will see you next week. Peace.